Hello.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I actually shared the wrong link to the group.
Okay.
That's why I was mentioning your name.
Oh,
So
this
I
is the
have to
right link.
share it now. Yeah.
This is the right link.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah, I think the others will just join us later because the trainer is already in the group. We can start off the session. So as we wait for the others, like for 5 minutes, maybe you can just say your name so that the speaker knows who is in the group. So I am Katile Mutuku. I'll be the moderator. So we can start with Anido.
My name is Anindo Murunga, and I'm a member of the Finance Committee.
Okay, we can have Eugene.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Eugene Onyango, Vice Chair, BBYI.
Thank you, Eugene. Okay, our session today is, I think it's just a recap of what the session we have had on leadership, on communication, but this is part of effective communication training, where the trainer will take us through presentation skills that we need and how to effectively communicate when we are presenting. So our speaker is called Nevu Carissa, and she's passionate about empowering women and children to become spectacular public speakers and leaders. And she specializes much on less stress in communication. So with that, I think I can welcome our speaker, Nevu Carissa, as others will be joining us. So welcome, Nevu.
All right, thank you very much. You didn't introduce yourself, so some of us don't know you, the host.
Okay, I did, but roughly. Okay, I'm Katile Mutuku, and I'm the director of BBYI, and I said I will be the moderator of the day. I thought everyone else knows me.
All right,
So
good. Awesome. So like Katila introduced me, I'm Nyevu Karisa, and I'm passionate about effective communications training for everyone, not just young women and children, but everyone that I meet. I try and empower them by having them speak effectively. And for today's presentation, we're mostly going to talk about visual aids. Could you give me 1 second? I'm receiving a call that I have to pick up. 1 second. Sorry about that. 1 second. Sorry about that. So today we're going to talk about visual aids using different presentation skills or tools that we can effectively get our message across. Can I have the right to share? All right, let me go ahead and share. So the agenda for today, let me go to do that. The agenda for today, we're going to go to types of speeches first. You have to know what speech you're going to be using to talk about. And then I'm going to go to tips of effective presentation, the types of visual aids that you're going to use, and effective use of visual aids, and then practicing using of visual aids. Okay. So with effective communication is a skill, and it's an important skill that everybody should have. And with perfect communication, you can build your leadership skills. So somebody can be able to speak better than you, and they can move ahead along in their leadership and different roles that they have, just because they can express themselves better through the different channels of where they are. So having effective communication is a very important tool that you have to have in your belt in whatever career moves you're making, even if it's in business, in anything that you do. To accomplish what you have to accomplish, you have to have effective communication. And the types of speeches that everybody is going to present, either using visual aids or presentation skills or just speaking in front of people, there are three types. They are informative, there's persuasive, and for special occasions. Informatives, you're giving a person relevant information in particular to a particular topic or a fact. They're telling them a story or trying to explain to them. Persuasive speech is you're about to change somebody's way of thinking. Like salespeople, they do persuasive because they want to convince you to buy a particular product. And if you are in a panel and a debate, you're convincing the other teams that whatever you're talking about is something that you want them to change and to do. And the ones for special occasions is the ones you see in weddings and parties and funerals. This is where humorous speeches come in. If you're a comedian and you want to entertain people, is where you have to be the part of speech. And in any presentations tool that you're going to use, you have to know what type of speech you're going to be doing or our audience is expecting you to have, so you can be able to choose the different visual aids that you want to be using, because each one of them is relevant to each particular speech type that you want. So we're going to go through the tips of effective communication. And most of the things is you have to capture your audience from the beginning. Be authentic, be honest, let the passion show from the subject that you're going to pick. If you're passionate about agriculture or typing or building things, be passionate on how you're going to be talking about that topic, okay? Because with your passion is how people see your honesty and you're reputable, and people can be able to pay more attention to you and say, whatever you've talked about is really something that I'm going to be listening to. And then you have to focus on your audience. Your audience is your main person that you're talking to. So once you know who your audience is, you have to change how you're going to talk to them. How you're talking to 15-year-olds and the youth is differently than how you're talking to adults 40 and above. So learn your audience and know them very well so that your content of what you're going to be speaking about is relevant to your audience. They make them understand easily by connecting with the type of audience that you want to do. If it's a wedding, you're entertaining them. So be happy, jolly, look for topics to talk about that is relevant to your audience. Focus on your audience. Your audience is your subject matter. And when you're doing any presentation skill, be it using visual aids, you have to keep it simple. Concentrate on the main message. Don't be too complicated. Keep it as simple as possible, so whatever you're talking about is relevant and easy for them to understand. What I use is a simple rule of 3. If I'm going to talk about, let's say, this glass, I'm going to do 3 points about this glass, and just do 3 points, and then you conclude your speech. Start with the opening, 3 points to verify your facts or what you're going to talk about, and then you conclude. If you do more than 3 points, people's attention span is between 5 to 15 minutes. Even if our 1 hour session, sometimes it can be too long. So people's attention is 5 to 10 minutes to 15 minutes, and they've lost attention, and they're on their phones. And with visual aid, with Zoom, virtual meetings these days, you don't know what people are doing on the back because their video is off. You don't know if they're listening to you or just they're washing clothes or doing anything. So you have to capture their attention by just being simple and to the point and using 2 to 3 points to verify what you're talking about. Okay. And then eye contact, smile to the audience. Don't look so serious. I know inside you're scared, but don't look so serious that you can frighten the people and they're like, oh, this one is not sure about themselves. Show your confidence with giving the people, your audience, eye contact so that you can acknowledge what they're saying. I can't see most of you because your videos are off, but if I was giving this presentation, I know I'm looking at you right now and I'm giving the presentation. Could we mute? Thank you very much. You're giving the presentation, you have to give eye contact to your audience. And then when you're starting your presentation, I'm just going to the tips and then I'll go to the visual aids later on in the next slide or so. Start strong. Begin your presentation. Beginning of your presentation is very crucial. You can start with a joke, but the joke has to be relevant to what you're talking about. You can start with a story, but the story has to be relevant to what you're talking about. Start really strong and powerfully so that you can grab the attention of your audience. Because there are people who come even with props. Since you're doing visual aids, you're going to talk about gardening or something. You come with a rose on stage and you're holding a rose. So people are wondering, is this person going to talk about roses? And then once you've captured the attention, that's when you start talking about what you have to present for them. So start strong. In every speech that you do, start really strong so you can capture the attention of your audience. But then with presentation skills using the slide, there's a rule that, it's not a Stanford rule, but it's a rule that I follow. It's 10, 20, 30. It shouldn't contain more than 10 slides, depending on the time that you have. Mine is like 21 slides, but I had a bigger subject to talk about. But if you have like a small presentation to give to a group of youths, or you have 10 minutes of your presentation, use not more than 10 slides to get your point across. And then don't talk for more than 20 minutes. Like I said earlier, attention span for people is between 5 to 15 minutes. And if you go beyond that, you've lost your audience, and whatever you'll be talking about, nobody will be listening to. And then you use the font not less than 30 points. 30 points is the number of font size that for each you can use, so it can be visible for even people sitting at the behind, and you have a big audience and there's a big screen that they can be able to see from wherever they are. And then use your voice effectively so you can be audible. Be loud, even though you have sometimes you can have the microphone and people at the back can still not be hearing you. People have a tendency that this is the microphone, they're holding it down here and it doesn't project very well to the voice. If you're holding a microphone, practice using a microphone. Have it close to your mouth so the voice can project really well through the microphone and through the speakers. So use your voice to speak audibly, and then speak slowly. Most of the times when you're nervous, you speak very fast and you don't realize it until when you're done. People are like, okay, I didn't understand half of what you said because you're speaking very fast. Maybe some of you are thinking I'm speaking very fast right now. So I'll try and slow down. And then another thing is you practice listening to your voice. Growing up, or even sometimes right now, I don't like hearing my voice when I record it. So when I'm speaking in a microphone, when the first time you've seen people like when they speak and they're like, oh, that's too loud, because they've heard their voice and they're like, I don't like the sound of my voice. So practice recording yourself and hearing your voice when you're practicing or preparing for a speech. So when it comes up through the speakers, it doesn't sound strange to you and you're not afraid for your own voice, because some people like their voices when they hear it when they record it. Some other people don't like hearing their voices. So enjoy listening to your voice because it's yours and it's God-given to you. And when you're presenting, even though you're using visual aids, how you stand in front of people is also a way of communication. Usually communication is 70% nonverbal and 30% verbal, like you're speaking. Because you standing in front of there and you're presenting to executives and you have jeans and a t-shirt on, it doesn't project really well to your audience. So wear appropriately when you're standing on stage, prepare yourself, get dressed, pamper your hair, look confident in front of them. Don't put your hands in your pocket. That shows you're nervous. I know you're nervous already, but don't put your hand in your pockets. Just stand with your hands on your side or behind you. And then if you need to use gestures is movement explaining, like big, small, short, thin. And I don't know, you've seen a lot of politicians using their hands because that is part of communication, is part of speech. So use what you have with your own body, like dressing well and using gestures when you're speaking as well, when you're presenting. And then most of all, relax, breathe, and enjoy yourself when you're on stage. I do breathing practices before I present something. I breathe in, breathe out. It relaxes me. Some have funny things they do with their mouths, like massage their mouths or do jumping jacks. Whatever you do to relax yourself before going on stage when you're presenting, do that. and it will relax you. And then when you're up there, when you start speaking, try and enjoy yourself, because you're doing what you're talking about, something you're passionate about, and you're doing things that you are enjoying doing in front of everybody. So just relax, breathe, and relax, and take poses as you move on to the next subject. Okay. So now we move to the main thing of the visual aids. Visual aids, anything that you use to support your speech, whatever you're speaking, anything that you use to support your speech. It could be slides, like PowerPoint presentation. Right now I'm using the slides. It's enabling me to do my speech. Some use videos. Some use handouts. When people used to meet face to face physically, maybe some of us still do, you give people handouts of whatever you're presenting and they'll be able to see that. Some people use flip charts. Flip charts are used mainly when you're doing a discussion and you want people to contribute to what you're saying. So you use flip charts. Some bring in pictures to present what they're having to say, and some use objects. And most people who deal with the financial analysis, they use charts and numbers to show how people what you're talking about. They're more visual with what they're presenting. So if you're going to be presenting about, let's say, how to sell nail polish, you bring the different variety of nail polishes to the audience so they can physically touch and see what you are presenting to them. So that's what's called the visual aids. Okay. And there are many types of visual aids that you can have also online, not just only objects. The main one that most people know about is the PowerPoint presentation. That's what I'm using right now. There's also Google Slides. There's a link. I'll share this slide with Katile and she can share with you guys. So you can go and explore the other platforms or applications available for people to use for presentation. And all these are free, and most of them are free and they're online. There's Keynote. If you're using an iPad, there's Keynote. There's Slides. There's Visme. There's so many applications that you can use online that makes your presentation more appealing and more current. We're in 2021, everybody's digital now. And with the COVID-19 last year, everybody became even more digital with using Zoom. Nobody's meeting face to face. Everybody is on other go-to meetings, and you have to present and use other visual presentation skills that's available for you. So you can Google and search. There are plenty of them that are out there that are free that you can use other than PowerPoint, and they're more effective in whatever area of what you want to present. And like I said earlier, when you're using PowerPoint, keep it simple. Do not use visual aids or something that is not relevant to what you're talking about. Just think of your topic you're talking about, then reflect on what visual aid is best to reflect, to be used to portray that message that you want. You keep it short and simple. Do not use, when you're creating like PowerPoint, there's a section that has notes section. So when you're displaying, don't display the notes as well with what you're doing your presentation. You can have that on the background and you're reading about it and you're doing that. And remember the 10-20 rule, not more than 10 slides, not more than 20 minutes, and your font that you use is 30 and above so people can be able to use it. So not more than 10 minutes, 20, not more than 10 slides, not more than 20 slides, and then not more than 30 minutes for your presentation. And the other common visual aids that I did mention earlier is Whiteboard. People are using Whiteboard, and you can, like Zoom has a whiteboard you can use for when you're doing your presentation, you're jotting out something. And I mentioned also flip charts and visual and videos. You can use that as well. Videos are good for training. Like you can capture a video or show somebody how to create or how to build something, or training them on some CPR, and you don't physically have somebody there. You use a video clip as part of your presentation so people can view what you're talking about. And then I don't know if some of you have had somebody talking about death by visual aids or death by PowerPoint. Death by PowerPoint is somebody using PowerPoint or whatever visual aid they're using, and they're reading word for word what they're saying to you, like looking at the board or the visual aid and then reading word per word. Visual aids are, like I said, it's aiding you to talk about the topic you're going to talk about. So you have to practice beforehand and know the content that you're talking about. You put just points. If you're talking about, let's say, selling shoes to customers, and you have 3 points about selling shoes, slide 1 has point 1. You talk about that 1 point and elaborate for more. Slide 2 has point 2. You mention the points and then elaborate more. Don't use each of the slide to say word for word what you're talking about to the people, because people get bored. They're like, okay, what's the point of you standing there if you can have the presentation or whatever handout you've given us, and we can be able to read on our own for that. So don't lean totally on your PowerPoint or visual aid that you're using to talk about what you're going to be talking about. So make sure you do that. Don't use it as a crutch. A crutch is something you're hanging on to. Don't use that. Okay, don't do that. And you ask yourself, I want to read my last point. For each visual aid, ask yourself why you are using it. And if there is a real reason or purpose to include whatever you're including on the slide. Ask yourself before you add a picture, before you add an illustration, how is it relevant to your audience? Again, I go back to the audience. The audience are your people who are listening to your message. Is it relevant to them? If it's not, look for something else that is relevant. Okay. And then my final take, there's no question that visual aids are being used right now for presentation, mainly because we're all virtual and we're using more of it. But you have to make sure you know your audience. Each audience has a different level of what you have to do. Maybe you're talking to kids under 10. Maybe you use a lot of cartoony graphics about it. Your audience. Learn your audience before you create your presentation, and you bring your content across very well. And ask yourself every time, either you're writing a speech or doing a presentation using visual aids, how does this add to what I am saying? Whatever you put together, well, how does it add value to the different points and the facts that you want to get people across? You talk about relevant things to the relevant audience, and you go ahead forward from that. Okay. I think I went too fast. I know we had an hour and a half for this, Katile. But if anybody has questions, I want it to be so very interactive, so we have more people on the call. So if they have any questions, we can go back and they can answer the questions. But yeah, that's what I had. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, thank you so much for such a wonderful short presentation.
Yeah.
I think from the audience, maybe we can have questions.
Yeah, feel free to answer questions. For me, for effective communication, you have to practice speaking. Because right now you can hide behind your no camera on, but you can still speak and express yourself. So don't be shy. Ask any questions, or you want me to illustrate something, just go ahead and ask. Katilen, I like my presentations really short, because I know people they've had a long day. It's the end of the day. You get the message across and you get it done. So we can ask questions.
Yeah, maybe we can have questions randomly. Maybe you can just raise your hand and then we'll have you speaking. Anyone from the audience? Yes, Dennis?
Just as a request.
Yes, Dennis.
While you are moving from slide to slide, can you move slowly so that if somebody is taking notes can?
I think it's true. Katile is going to share the slide. You can go ahead and share the slide to the audience so that they can be able to take notes. But which one in particular did you want me to go back to? Because I know I went through some of them.
Maybe Tips for using presentation. I didn't get the last point.
Oh, hold on one second. Tips for effective, this one, relax.
No, tips for using PowerPoint.
Okay, hold on. The visual aids part.
This one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Any other question? I know I was talking really fast. Should have told me to slow down earlier, Dennis. Should have raised your hand and like, Nyefu, slow down.
Sorry, I didn't.
That's all right. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, if I'm pitching an idea to investors,
Mm-hmm.
Is it all right? Probably when I'm doing the presentation, also they have a copy of it, or it doesn't matter if I have a copy or not.
So,
Yes.
your name again? Sorry, your name?
My name is Charles.
Charles. Okay, Charles. So for pitching to investors, I think I need to come back again and just do that for pitching for investors, because that's called an elevator pitch. So if you want to gain the attention of your investors, if you hand them over your presentation, they will concentrate in reading while you're doing your presentation. So what I usually do is I tell them that I'm going to do my pitch, present to you. If I have a slide or whatever visual aid I'm using, finish that. Then when I'm finished is when you give them the handout and say, thank you for listening to me. Here's a copy of what I've just presented to you. Because once you give anybody a handout, even remember in school when you're given a handout, even for your exam, you start reading. It's a natural human habit to start reading what you're given, and you're not giving full attention to the person speaking in front of you. So it's best you hold off. Just let them know I'm going to hand this off. I'm going to give you a handout at the end of my presentation. But as I go through my presentation, please pay attention to me and then go ahead and speak and present your pitch.
I've gotten that. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes it depends on what organization you're using. Some of them already have what you're going to present ahead of time, like they're sent to the organizer, whoever it is. But if you have the handouts and you have to give them to them, give them after you've done your pitch, not before. Because many people concentrate on reading it instead of listening to you. All right. Any questions?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the answer. I've
You're welcome.
gotten that. I think
Well,
I've learned from that.
oh, you're welcome, Charles. You're welcome. Any other questions? Feel free, please. This is an interactive session. The more questions, the more you get to learn.
Hello.
Hey, Patricia.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Sorry, I joined late.
That's all right.
Okay, I got you on this thing of when presenting, you said you start strongly. Yeah?
Yes.
So if I'm not a story person, you are saying like maybe you can start by telling a story to capture your audience attention.
Okay. So that was just one of the examples. I know most people are not storytellers. So you can start with a quote. Look for a famous quote or somebody you can start with a quote relevant to what you're going to be talking about.
Okay.
We can start with that. The other way you can start with a question. Because when you start with a rhetorical question, everybody's like, should I answer that? Let me think about it. Like, for example, we're going to be talking about, give me a topic, Patricia. I'll give you an example. Give me a topic, any topic. Like, what do you do yourself? Any topic.
Okay, let's say you're talking about importance of girl child education.
Importance of girl-child education. Importance of girl-child education. So you can start with a quote from these famous people like Oprah Winfrey. I know there's so much about education in the girl child. Start a quote from that girl child part, or start asking them a questions of, have you ever gone to the rural areas and you find that the number of students in the classroom, more of them are boys than girls? Have you ever asked yourself why or where are the girls? And then you pause, and then you start your presentation on what you're talking about. Okay.
Okay.
You can start with a
Thank
question
you.
like that or a quote. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Patricia. Any other questions? So while we're waiting for the questions, there's another point that I don't think I emphasize is you need to practice a lot when you're about to give a presentation. Practice, look into the information that you have, and practice. Even giving your presentation to people in your house or by yourself, and make sure that you know the content that you're going to do. Another point as well is if you're using visual aids, have a backup. Sometimes you can go with your computer and your computer just refuses to turn on right now. So back up your information on a flash disk, or send the information to your host and say, just in case my computer breaks down or my flash disk falls down the drain or something, you have the information as well. Prepare in advance for anything that can come up faulty. Another thing is you go to where you're going to present early enough so you can know your surroundings. Back in the days, I say back in the days, when we used to meet people face to face and have big conferences, you go to the conference arena or wherever the room is and get yourself acquainted to the room. If you're speaking on the stage, get on the stage, you look outside and see the audience where they're going to be sitting so you can be familiarized. So when you go on stage, you don't get shocked. So like, oh yeah, this stage is so high, or the light is too much on my face. You get shocked and you don't know what to do. So get familiarize with the environment and the equipment that you're going to be using as you go along before you do your presentation. My main thing is practice, practice, and practice. There's no maximum amount of how many times you're going to practice. Practice as much as possible. So when you're doing your speech, you can be able to look like you're confident and know your subject matter. Any questions? We have no people who joined after I started, so I think you didn't get all of it. So if you have any questions from where you got on before, just let me know.
Hello.
Yes.
I think I have a question.
Yes.
There's something you said about knowing your audience. If you're speaking to youth, you know how you can speak to them. So how can you become humorous when you are speaking to a certain audience?
So humor is a very tricky thing. It's something that you already have. If you don't have, you have to practice it. Let's say you're going to say a joke. Practice saying that joke to other people around you and see if they laugh. If they don't laugh, change the joke to something else. And then if you're speaking to the youth, mainly to the youth, have current relevant things that are happening to them so they can be able to relate to it. So something for humor, making it humorous, you have to practice it enough. If you're not a humorous person, I'm not a humorous person. So if I'm planning to do a funny speech or entertaining speech, I have to go research different jokes, hear other people saying the joke or how to be humorous. And then I go ahead and present. It's not natural to me to become humorous. So just you look at the relevant information and then just go with the flow, be natural as you're speaking to them. Use their lingo, The young youth today is using Sheng, so get relevant to the Sheng that they're using and put it in between your speech and things like that. I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Okay.
Question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Dennis.
How do you handle like a presentation that deals with sensitive matters?
Example, like what?
Like sex. It's, it's something that is sensitive that people can relate to it in a personal manner.
So if let's say you're going to give, let's say maybe, for example, Dennis, you mean like you're doing a health talk to people?
Yes, something like that.
So you know that your audience is already expecting that. Okay. And then you can give them a forewarning. It's like what I'm going to talk about next is irrelevant to sex. So somebody is uncomfortable about that, you can either leave the room and then come back when I'm done, or if it's somebody and age appropriate, like you can start talking about sex and the kids under the age of 12 or whatever, you can say, can the people under this age leave the room? Because you prepare them mentally. Like I'm going to talk about sex. I'm going to talk about the different parts of our body, like that. Just prepare them in advance so that they know what you're going to be talking about. Does that answer your question, Dennis?
Yeah.
It's just like when people are sending out videos, inappropriate videos, let's say WhatsApp, you have to leave a disclaimer. Just warn people, like whatever you're going to view, it's very sensitive information. So people will be like, I have a choice to view it or not view it. Or when I view it and it's sensitive, I've already been told it was sensitive, so I don't get offended. So the good thing is just warn them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, I have another question.
Yes.
So maybe you are presenting on something, and then as you are presenting, you come across a controversial topic.
Mm-hmm.
And then people don't agree with you. Maybe some people agree with you, others don't agree. So what do you do in such a circumstance?
So it's part of the content that you have, and then everybody's like, oh, no, we don't agree with that. They're protesting loudly. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, since you want to finish up your presentation, you can say either you can wait until I finish whatever I'm presenting, and then we can have this debate ongoing, or you can just prepare to stop your presentation and then address what they have. Just okay, I'll hear one person from this side, I'll hear one person from that one who's objecting. Like give them, most people when they're protesting, they just want airtime to speak, to air their views. So you give them a few minutes and like, okay, we'll take the next 10 to 5 minutes to debate what we've just discussing about it. And you give your point, and then I can continue my presentation. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Maybe we can hear from Nambi. Nambi has said nothing, and Michelle.
Hi.
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 I'm Michelle. So I joined a bit late. I was in another call, so that's why I joined a bit late. But one thing I would like to know about effective communication is sometimes you might be doing a presentation. It might be verbal or you're doing a PowerPoint. How do you keep it short and fun, no matter how no matter how long the presentation is, how do you incorporate activities in the presentation? Because sometimes you can find a speaker will actually get into doing so many activities that incorporate the message that he wants to pass, and then someone might do a PowerPoint and you'll probably you'll probably fall asleep halfway or something like that. So I want to know like the balance of how to make it fun and yet effective, or is it someone's skill? Maybe you could advise on that.
It's part of skill, but it's a part of practice. And my rule of thumb to make it easy for you to incorporate and fun into it is use less points. I use the power of 3. In whatever I'm doing a presentation, I look at the 3 main points and facts that I want to tell the audience. And then let's say I say point 1. If point 1, you can be able to include an activity there, you stop your presentation and then you do the activity. Make it fun, engage them. There's so many things called icebreakers. Do an icebreaker in between, relevant to your first point. And then you move to your second point. After you finish your second point, engage them, ask them questions. Ask them to repeat what you've just said, or do an icebreaker in between that. And then do your third one, do the same thing, an icebreaker or engaging the audience. Like that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, so incorporate a lot of icebreakers and practicing what you want to do for them. Like practice in advance, like already your presentation. Like after one point, I'm like, I'm going to put this icebreaker. You already know which icebreaker it is. I'm like, okay, everybody stand up. Because you've seen most people, when they do a presentation and they're looking at the audience after 10 minutes, they're like, okay, people are not concentrating. So they say, okay, everybody get on your feet, raise your hands up, shake, 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 do the baby shark song. Like engage them and make it more fun and entertaining. And then you have them sit down. So you do another 10 minutes of presentation and you're seeing people fall asleep. You're like, okay, now everybody get up, move from the chair that you were sitting, move to another chair. Like do random things so they can know, hey, this one, I don't know when he's going to pick me to do something else. So I better pay attention to what she's talking about. Then after another 10 minutes, okay, everybody show me your right hand or something, engage them, make it more fun for them to know. And then once they know that's how you present every time, there'll be a lot. I'm like, I don't know if she's going to tell me to stand up, remove my shoes. So let me just pay attention to the presentation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I see a chat. Hold on, let me check. The question.
Hello, I think everyone has asked a question, not unless there's someone else who has a question.
I think Nambi is just appreciating how short the presentation is. I don't take people's time too long, and I know it's the end of the day. You guys are tired. It's Furahi Day. So yeah. I kept it short and precise instead of going and going. People are falling asleep. I don't know what they're doing behind their cameras. So short and precise to the point, and you're done. And then before you like keeping it short is before you go do a presentation, you ask your host, how much time do I have? If they tell you have 15 minutes or 30 minutes, you say, okay, if I have 30 minutes, I'm going to present for 10, 20 minutes and then give the audience 10 minutes to ask questions. Mind your time very well. And another platform that I want to tell people before we end the call is join a group called Toastmasters. Have any of you had Toastmasters International? Hands up, yes, yes. Signs. You've had?
Yes.
Yes, you've had. Okay. So join Toastmasters. And now since that we have COVID, Toastmasters is doing actually all of its meeting virtually. So you can participate in meetings all over East Africa. The link that I've shared on chat is a link that shows all the clubs in East Africa. There are more than 45 to 50 clubs in East Africa meeting on different days of the week and times. Log on and listen to what the skills. Toastmasters, actually, I didn't say what Toastmasters is. Toastmasters is an international organization where you practice how to speak effectively. They train you on keeping time. If you have a 5 to 7 minute speech, they show you how to break it down through the different manuals that you have. And it's formed in different groups and clubs. So in a club environment, let's say for now, like your group, Katile, you can say you're opening a Toastmasters club for your group. So you meet a particular days, maybe Friday from 6:30 to 8, and you go, people give their speeches. And as they're giving their speeches, there's somebody else who's going to evaluate their speech as per what the objectives of the speech is. Somebody's going to time you. Somebody's going to listen to your English grammar and see how you're speaking, and then give you feedback. And with feedback, you get to improve your skills better and get to be a more effective speaker. So join any of the meetings. It's free to join, to listen. And once you want to become a member, that's when they ask you for a fee to pay. But it's a good platform to go logging in and seeing people doing effective presentations of these speeches.
Oh, that's wonderful. I actually attended one of the trainings. It's a bit challenging for a start off, but
Yeah.
I really liked how they do it.
Yes, it's a really effective program. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and those are my contacts. I do on the side public speaking training one-on-one. So if you're interested, just reach out, email, phone call, in a group presentation. You want me to help you out with your speech or presentation, I'll be glad to do that, help you figure out what you're going to talk about, how to put it together, and we can work together on that. So with that, that's my presentation for today. Katile, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Nivu. Actually, I learned a lot, especially on the presentation skills on PowerPoint. I didn't know the 10, 20, 30 rule, and I appreciate that so much. It really helped me, and I know it will help other members also. I just liked the presentation. It was short and very precise and very so easy to understand, compared to a long session that most of us could be following, but no, we are tired.
Yes,
We
I
make
know.
more go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I can give maybe a minute to one of the participants, maybe to give a parting shot. Yeah. So any of the participants, you can just unmute and maybe say your parting shot on how the presentation was. Yeah, something like that.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Nyevu for the presentation. It has been short, really, and very precise, and it has been an interactive session. And I'm pretty sure everybody has learned a lot from this session, and I think we are all happy for the session, and you, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Yeah, I'm actually impressed for this session, and I think I followed everything, and it was so amazing. Even from the feedback, as Nambia said, it was an awesome session. And maybe Pedro, I don't know, Pedro is not connected to audio. Maybe he can just say his name.
His audio is not connected yet.
Yeah. He joined late, but I'm sure he gained something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I can say thank you so much for the participants, Dennis, Nambi, Patricia, Pedro, Michelle. Eugene was in. There was someone else who was in. I can't remember the name, but thank you all for attending the session. I'm sure you have learned so much. maybe before I end the session, I can take back the session. Maybe I can go back to you, Neville. Maybe you can give your parting shots and then we can end the session.
My parting shot is just to thank all the participants to come. I know taking time from whatever you are doing just to come and attend this is commendable. And thank you to you, Katile, for what you're doing. Building and empowering other people through communication is very appreciative of you and very noble of you to do that. And I'm just glad to be here. People have learned something, a thing or two. And you can continue learning because I've shared my contacts with Katile and also shared the presentation. So you can go through the notes for those who are writing notes and you didn't get to write everything. You can see the presentation in the slide and you go practice using the different visual aids available there for each one to do. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nevu, for taking your time to come and have this session with us. I'm really grateful and I hope we'll engage more in other sessions on effective communication. Yeah, actually, we had some shaky schedule on effective communication, but yeah, we'll have to continue the training. So the training you're asking about interpersonal skills, we'll be having it on tomorrow is 23rd, yeah, tomorrow I guess at 6:30, and then we'll just continue with the other trainings. We scheduled a training for communication in the leadership committee that maybe you didn't get the link, but we appreciate so much on the section on presentation skills. I'm sure it will help us even as we are preparing presentations to educate other youth. So thank you so much, Nevo, and thank you so much everyone for attending the session. I think today a lady can pray for us, Patricia, so that we might end the session. Patricia?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. I think I should also appreciate that speaker. Thanks for the session. I came in late, but I've learned a lot. Thank you. Hope to have you in the next sessions. So let's pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for this evening. Thank you for the lovely session. We thank you for blessing us with Miss Yevo. She has been a good speaker. We've learned, and God, we hope to put all this into action. Thank you. We bless your name. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Thank you all for attending. Maybe I can wish you a good evening, and I will share the slides and the recordings. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Okay, good evening too.
Good night, everyone.
Yes, good night.